New York, stand up!
The WNBA is so important.
Okay, Tom. God bless. Good night.
This is Nothing But That Sports Talk.
Welcome to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk with Feet Luzon, along with another ESPN worker. Let everybody know where you're from and who are you.
Hi, my name is Angela Randle. I work for ESPN on the digital and social team. I'm a producer with Sports Center on Snapchat. So basically, we just take the best viral videos, highlights, and we try to come up with some crazy things, you know, the backstory behind it.
Yeah, speaking of, we'll touch upon your ESPN. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you landed a job with ESPN?
Oh, okay. So I graduated college in 2016. My sports industry journey started probably I would say 4 months after I graduated. I landed a job with NBA. There I worked as a PA, and basically they just had us, you know, going through all the departments and things like that. I took a break after probably a year, and I took that time to basically recreate myself. I started my own platform, which is called Off the Bench, and I was going around to different NBA players, NFL players, WNBA players, just interviewing them. Now, back in 2017, no one was really doing that. So when I went to interview with ESPN, that's what really made me stand out, because they're like, wow, we really don't see, you know, a lot of people doing that. So I would say that got my foot in the door. Fast forward 2021, everyone who's new in the industry, they're coming up with their own platforms, and you see a lot of social and digital photographers and things like that. So yeah, I would say I'm probably one of the first people on the Northeast that started their own platform when it really wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and I can kind of relate to that because what I'm doing right now is really start as a sit-down interview, like what I'm doing with you right now. I branched out and started covering events and interviewing basketball players, whether it's in playgrounds like Rucker Park in Typeman, or in NBA arenas like the Barclays Center, or doing it virtually from home for the past couple of years, like I've been doing with the WNBA. And I see you in the WNBA, Connecticut Sun. Yeah, you seem like you know what you were doing. And I also saw you covering the Connecticut Sun playoff game. You know the series when it got taken up by Chicago Sky, but you did cover the one game they won. So yeah.
Yeah.
Those reps that you've been getting.
Yeah, so I try to, cover the non-conventional sports. That's one thing that I did want to bring to the Sports and on Snapchat team, is more coverage of the WNBA. So I reached out to, the different PR people and things like that. And just shoot your shot. That's what I did. I just shot my shot, sent them an email, say, hey, I want to come cover the game, things like that. Especially in this industry, you definitely don't want to be the one on the sideline, quiet, closed mouths don't get fed. You want to walk up, introduce yourself. When you are in the room, you want to make it a presence. And that's one thing I had to learn from my mom. She's like, Angela, you have to speak up. I was very shy, but now I'm not shy anymore.
Wow. That's what I was getting ready to ask you, what do you love about covering the WNBA, and why do you decide to cover it in the first place?
So I used to play AAU basketball, middle school, high school, all the way into college. So I knew it was something that I wanted to do. When you're younger, everyone wants to play in the WNBA. I grew up on Candace Parker, and then I watched Rutgers women's basketball because I'm from New Jersey. So, I wanted to put those two together. I knew I wanted to play sport. I knew I loved basketball, and then I knew I loved to be on camera, or, try to find people's stories. So I found a way to put those two together. And the WNBA, especially, I would say the last 3 years that I have been at ESPN, has really rose through the ranks. So that's what made it even more interesting with the new players that's coming in, and, the OG players and their aspect of the game.
And I was getting ready to ask you, what is your favorite WNBA player and NBA player of all time, or players of all time?
Okay.
Watching basketball.
My favorite, I'm gonna start with NBA. So my favorite NBA player of all time is Dwyane Wade. I loved him. I wore number 3 in middle school. Our colors was red, black, and white. So that was just, my favorite player. I would say probably my favorite WNBA player has to be Diane Taurasi, just because her UConn days and her now, she's still a walking bucket. Her game has elevated, but it's not, like how it's a lot. I'm the type of person, I don't like a lot of dribbling. So I like when people go through the basics and things like that, but you still on the court are a force. So I would say she's my favorite from then to now. And I'm happy to still see her in the league. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, too bad Diane Taurasi lost 3 games
Yeah.
in the finals. But at the very least, she managed to defeat the Chicago Sky in the first time they played them. And I've talked about how good Diane Taurasi is a million times. The girl is pretty talented. It's a good spot up shooter. She can take it to the hole, and she's very entertainment in the press conferences. I don't know if you my interview with her were on either Overtime pages or the Diane Taurasi fan page. The guy that asked her about scoring 50 points in total by the team in the long victory, that was me. I did that. You know what? But yeah, Diane Taurasi is very entertaining at the press conferences talking about taking to focus.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this series. This series to me was an eye opener to see how hard these women work and how hard it is for them to get coverage. Now that different companies, especially me working with ESPN, picking up more coverage of them, I feel like they're finally getting the respect that they deserve on a bigger and broader aspect.
Yeah, but getting back to your favorite NBA player of all time, what are your favorite Dwyane Wade moments that you saw? Because there's a lot of moments Dwyane Wade had. And it's only fair to talk about it because we're at the 75th anniversary season.
Yeah. Okay, so I would say my favorite Dwyane Wade moment, probably not his moment, I would say probably the team moment, is when they Ray Allen in the corner, spot up 3, and they basically advanced to the NBA. I think it was game 6 or game 7.
Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 2013.
Yes, sir. I was in my living.
That one, we all remember that game.
It was like in my head, it was over. It was over.
Like San Antonio had it. The fans leaving the building. Then Ray Allen tied it up. It made fans regret leaving the building. Don't leave it until you know for sure it's over. I remember watching that game. I was losing my mind when Ray Allen hit that shot, man.
Yes. And I honestly, when I started to follow Dwyane Wade, I was 11, 12. I was in the 6th grade, around about like 2006. And I just remember him like such a force going to the basket. He really couldn't shoot like that much outside on the perimeter. So a lot of people will leave him open, but I mean, his mid-range, getting to the basket, and then his defense. Then when LeBron joined the team, that was another whole story within itself. So that's what made me like a real Dwyane Wade lifetime fan. A lot of people are like, oh, Angela, like, who's your favorite player now? My favorite player now is Luka. Okay, I love Luka. He's a walking bucket.
Oh yeah, Luka.
The European style of play, I love it. Like, he's just literally it. Like, he's the definition of a baller. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, Luka Magic, buzzer beater off the Clippers in a playoff game in the bubble. You remember that one? That was amazing. But getting back to Dwyane Wade, let me tell you a secret. Not really a secret because a lot of people know this. My first season watching the NBA, I was 14 years old in high school. Dwyane Wade won his first championship with Shaq and Alonzo. I know you remember that one. Dwyane Wade took over the finals after being down 2 games against Dirk Nowitzki's Mavericks. Too bad Nowitzki refused to talk about the 2011 finals, but you know what? Whatever.
Yeah, so back in those days, I was only like 9, 8, so I really can't remember that far. But I mean, seeing it now and how he was like when he first joined the league, and how, I mean, he literally had everyone on his back. Like when he went up against Kobe and Kobe shut him down with that shot, that memorable shot, like stuff like that is like what really made, me respect him. And, when the 75th anniversary list came out, the top 50, I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, where's Dwyane Wade's name? Where's Dwyane Wade's name? And then it came out, hey, like, yeah, he's top 75. So that's what
Why
really
not? Wait.
right. Yeah, like, I was waiting.
This man won back-to-back championship with Miami, and then an iconic 2-0 come from line series win in 06.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that run very well. He carried that team on his back.
Yes, sir.
Shaq's championship, Alonzo Mourning's first and only championship of his career. Gary Payton got a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Williams, that 06 Miami championship team, they surprisingly took out the Detroit Pistons. Mm-hmm. We all remember that season. Mm-hmm. And then let's not forget, although Dwyane Wade were coming off bad seasons later in the year, he did have a lot of crazy shots, like the buzzer beater he had off the Chicago Bulls in 2009, to the buzzer beater he hit off the defending champion Golden State Warriors in 2019. We all remember everything Dwyane Wade did.
Yes.
And when he first came back to Miami, his second and final stint, he carried that team, although they couldn't get past the Philadelphia 76ers, but it's all good because at the very least you defeat them during the days of LeBron James. Well,
that's all that mattered. And I feel like his stint, like
Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons was just too OP for Asian Dwyane Wade coming off the bench in the Miami Heat roster, which was led by Hassan Whiteside and Bam Adebayo.
Yep. And I feel like him coming off that stint from when Miami traded him to Chicago, he was at Chicago for, not even a whole year. He was there, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna bring him back down to Miami. As soon as they bring him back down to Miami, I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is probably his last year and a half. And that's what, as a Dwyane Wade fan, that's what really made me sad, because it's like, I'm not going to see my favorite player of all time, the person who I grew up with. A lot of people say, Kobe's my favorite player. And I'm like, well, Dwyane Wade's my favorite player, and he's not in the league no more. So that was just a heartbreak in itself as a basketball fan.
And to conclude the Dwyane Wade conversation, I got to see Dwyane Wade live and in person in a Christmas Day game in 2009 against the New York Knicks. When I was 18 years old. I remember me and my cousins, we went there at the Garden. I saw Dwyane Wade live and in person. So
let me tell you a story. So I was around the 7th grade, and my dad, he works for the post office. He's a supervisor at the post office, and I wanted to see a Dwyane Wade game so bad. He came to New Jersey when the Nets were playing in the Meadowlands, and I was just like so excited. My dad was like, "Come on, like we're gonna go." So we get to the ticket box office, and my dad's like, "Oh, give us the Skyway to Heaven seat." So we literally was in the heavens or whatever. So the lady gave us a ticket. So we go all the way up, and the ticket holder looks at him, and he's like, "You're not up here, you're down there." And my dad's like, "What?" So basically we had like behind courtside seats. The lady at the office, I guess she recognized my dad's uniform, and she surprised us with those tickets. So it was like the most memorable moment of my life, me walking down the steps and literally seeing him. Like, it was like I was seeing Jesus in person. Like, oh my God, this is like, yeah, that was the
what calendar year was that game was? Because Dwyane Wade
they played against the Nets. This is when Jason Kidd was still playing, so I remember that. Mind you, I was like 11, 12, so I really don't remember that far back, but yeah.
You're right. Dwyane Wade's Miami Heat literally owed Jason Kidd's Nets to the playoffs in 2005 and in 06. I mean, they got one game for them during the days of Vince Carter and Richard Jefferson, but after that, they just couldn't be stopped. Like, Dwyane Wade and Shaq was just too OP for the Nets. Doesn't matter what record they had. Okay.
It was a memorable moment.
Okay, now to get on to another serious question. What are your favorite memories of your basketball career up until your college days or during your college days?
My favorite memories, I'll have to say, is I used to be a cheerleader. And one day my aunt, she was like, hey, she worked for recreation. She was like, oh, we need, my mom was like, can you watch the kids? And she's like, yeah, I'll watch the kids. So she works for recreation. We go to the park, and basically at the time the city was just starting up girls basketball. So my aunt was like, oh, okay, like we have practice uniforms, just put them on. Didn't know anything about basketball. I was shooting with 2 hands, and I felt like as soon as I put the ball in my hand, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, this is exactly what I want to do. So I went from that to playing like middle school basic basketball. And then I feel like things started to change my 8th grade year going into high school, and my mom got me a trainer, and from there it was just like, okay, like you play on 3 different AAU teams, so I'm going from spring ball to AAU to playing with my high school in the summer to after that going to play AAU games like literally everywhere to going to high school, being in high school. And then once I got to my senior year, college coaches started to call me and they're like, hey, like, you know, like we want you to come on a visit, this, that, and the third. So I feel like my college decision when it came to basketball was more like, I want to play, but I'm going to focus on education more because I kind of put it in my head like, okay, I'm not going to go really far with this. So it was just like, I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and major in communications. And that right there turned into a whole whirlwind of me joining the sports industry. So I would probably say like just that first moment. I feel like everyone remembers that first moment when they put a ball in their hands and how much you can see in the future, but you're still standing like where you are today. So. Yeah.
What you talk about? Yeah, that's a very amazing story. The whole knowledge of basketball just grew the minute you touch the ball or actually watch basketball in front of your television screen. That's how it was with me when I started watching basketball. But to get to your story, like, what are some extracurriculars that you've done during your college days off the courts?
Off the courts, I would say I played softball for like 2 weeks. I joined the softball team and I was like, girls were throwing like 70 miles per hour underhand, 80 miles per hour. I was like, okay, yeah, no, I can't do this. Like, you know, like when you're an athlete, you think you can do everything. So I tried to go do everything, but it just didn't work out. I would go and I was part of the, basically the campus newspaper. So I would go around with the campus newspaper. I would go visit my different friends at college. I was probably very chill, the definition of a college athlete. Once basketball season is over, you just want to, you know, chill out, don't do anything, go back home, visit your family, because you don't get that time during your winter break and during the summer and beginning of the school year.
Wow, that's pretty much amazing. I can kind of relate to that because when I was part of the writing staff for the newspaper, I always see my friends in the newspaper literally all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
surprisingly, I wasn't in the newspaper. Me working there, I would always try to get them to take pictures of me. No, didn't happen. So,
yeah. Have you done any commentary or sports journalism when you went there?
Yes. So, basically, there at my college, I went to Centenary University. It's a Division III college. We did have sports analysts and things like that. So it was a couple games for the men's team. I did the sports analysts, broadcasting, and then I did interviews at halftime with them. So, I mean, our communications department, they just built a whole like state-of-the-art system. So it was growing, and my graduating class was one of the first classes to use it. So my professor, he was a director at News 12 New Jersey. So he would actually like implement, hey, like this event is going on campus. You guys go take the camera, you know, practice and things like that. So that's where I got a lot of experience from. But my utmost experience came from me just going out there and, you know, getting interviews and things like that myself and researching myself.
Yeah, for the off the bench television publication you do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my heart. That's my baby. My mom always tell me, Angela, you know, you stop. But I mean, when you're working for a big company, like you have to focus. Okay, like this is my job. I'm coming from outside the company, so I have to focus on that. But during this season, you know, college basketball season, that's when I'm gonna revamp things and get it back up to where it was.
And look at you now. You got to cover your first WNBA playoff game in real life. Why don't you talk about the experience of doing that?
Yeah. So it was kind of like going there as like someone who's reporting on the game rather than just like going to, you know, just write about it. It was kind of like a little nerve-wracking because like I said, when you see players and things like that, like you're scared that you're not scared, but it's like you walk up to someone, they don't know you, but you still ask them like, hey, like, can I ask you a couple questions? 9 times out of 10, they're cool. So I had to get back into, you know, that feeling comfortable. Like letting people know my face, like who I am, things like that. The press conference, that was my first in-person press conference when I was there at the actual Mohegan Sun. So that was really interesting. I got to see how, the other news reporters and things like that navigate. I got to experience on Zoom how that navigates. So it was just a refreshing, modern day 2021, with COVID and things like that, how the media is represented. So going from, what you're used to now, like a whole different thing, you being vaccinated and things like that, having to go and be cautious and stuff like that. So that was eye-opening.
Yeah, and not to mention you got to cover the best team of the WNBA, at least.
Yes, number one, yes.
And which leads to this question: what are some WNBA journalists that you admire the most growing up?
Growing up, I don't really.
Or at the very least, the present day.
Okay, so present day, I would say my girl Ari, highlight her. She's played a big role in, getting the WNBA to where it is. Putting it on that broad aspect, and her hashtag WNBA is so important. I would say her right now. She's probably the biggest influence. Also Holly Rowe. I love her. She's so sweet. I got to meet her a couple of times and she gave me a lot of advice. So I would say her. I worked with Roz Gold-Onwude. She's really cool. Rebecca Lobo, she's awesome. Met her a couple of times. So I would say those, I think I named like 4 or 5. Those 4 or 5 right now are the biggest WNBA representation of them right now, who constantly talks about them.
Yeah, that's crazy because I think about her all the time, especially since a few years ago, I've had Ari along with Christina from Girls Talk Sports TV on my show at one point. Mm-hmm. And I've interviewed Rebecca Lobo during the All-Star game earlier this year, where she was sitting with Cheryl Swoops. Mm-hmm. And I was asking her about what she loved about doing broadcasting about the WNBA, including the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. It was just so incredible. And she really knows everything about women's basketball. I mean, you're talking about somebody that played for the.
She's a pioneer. She basically started the WNBA.
I was getting ready to say, you're talking about somebody that played for New York Liberty when they first started the first WNBA game, Liberty versus Sparks. And 25 years later, the Liberty defeated Sparks in the anniversary game. You know the one where Rebecca Allen blocked how many times during that final seconds of the game. We all know that one. New York, stand up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, going to New York, especially their sports, is a whole different atmosphere. I'm from New Jersey, so I mean, we do a lot of back talking and things like that. So when you see other teams coming, like, New Yorkers are getting in their face and come on, let's go. The whole crowd is pumped. I mean, that's like a whole, that's the East Coast mentality.
Yeah,
like, you just have, we here.
Speaking of that, we are 1 week into the new WNBA 75 season. Like, what are some of the craziest things that you enjoyed so far?
NBA 75?
Yeah, during the first week.
So far, I mean, the craziest things that I've seen so far is probably the Nets going 0-3 and Kevin Durant just like, we're 0-3. Like, it's okay. Yeah. Well, last time I saw them play was like a week ago. I will also say probably the craziest thing is the Ben Simmons drama. We've been covering that a lot, and just, I feel like his mental health, like he needs to focus on that rather than trying to go to the team and, just be that dark representation of, I don't want to be here. I will also say probably the Rockets, their rookies are just doing the damn thing. I would say Jason Tatum, he's also doing the damn thing. Stephen Curry and the Warriors, I feel like they're back to that, what was it, like 2015 stint where they were like, where they were unstoppable. Yeah, he's looking like that Steph again. So that was really refreshing to see. I was a Warriors fan. I was on the bandwagon, so I'm not gonna lie, I was on the bandwagon. I would say too, the Lakers trying to figure it out and get it together. They have so many, weapons, a lot of knowledge from their vets, but it's just any team that you go to, whether it's sports, whether it's life, whether, you know, it's work, you're gonna have to figure it out. You know, obviously they're on a team for a reason, and with all of them together, somehow they fit. They just have to figure how they fit and what are their positions on the team.
I don't hear nothing about my New York Knicks.
I'm really not.
Double overtime win against the Celtics. Blew out the Magic the first game.
Yeah, I'm really not a Knicks. Yeah, I'm really, yeah, you said it, New York here. I mean, the presence of Julius Randle and Kemba Walker coming back, that's really I feel like the headline that's there, you know, like their grit and their grind, like they really go out and they get it. Nothing is handed to them. And I feel like, you know, with top teams that do come to New York and think it's just going to be a breeze, you know, they're trying to turn the franchise slowly around. So it's all about the process.
Exactly. And another process we got to be mindful of is the Chicago Bulls, 4-0. Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, those kids, that trio, judging by the highlights, they look like they're going to be a problem in the Eastern Conference. I mean, early, but if they continue picking up wins at this point, expect to see them back in the playoffs.
Yes, definitely. I feel like, let me talk about playoff standpoint. I feel like on the East Coast, my top 5 will have to be the Bucks, will have to be the Hawks, will have to be Dallas, not counting them out. Will have to be Philly, not going to count them out either. And the Celtics. Well, I forgot the Nets. Yeah. Yeah,
you can't forget.
I'll put the Nets over the Celtics. Yeah, I'll put the Nets over the Celtics.
Brooklyn. I mean,
so, yeah.
Did you know they're favorites to win the NBA championship even without Kyrie Irving playing because of his unvaccinated status? But let me ask you a question. As an athlete, if you were in Kyrie Irving's shoes, and you were told you had to be vaccinated in order to play ball, would you do it?
I feel like to him or to me, it's like LeBron said, like it's really a personal choice. I mean, it could be, you know, religion, it could be health-wise and things like that. So we really don't know what he's going through on the back end. You know, we're just out there as like journalists saying like, hey, like this will be the safer thing to do, but we just don't know what he's dealing with on the back end when it comes to his health and things like that. So I mean, it's one's own personal decision. I mean, people have different reactions to the virus and things like that. So I mean, it's just best he probably consulted with the doctor to see, you know, what's wrong with the vaccine, or is this okay for me as a person, as an individual. So I think that's the best answer that I could give, is one owns personal choice, and we just don't know. It could be something wrong with him. We just don't know, you know?
People have the nerve to march the streets of the Barclays Center. They're all for a guy that don't want to be vaccinated and dribble the ball. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's seeing that, it was just like, it was an eye opener, because it's like, a lot of people now, like they're losing their jobs over not wanting to take the vaccine. They're, you know, protesting against it, but it's just like, we can't force anyone to do anything. I mean, it's one's own personal choice. So that's my mindset, is one's own personal choice. I'm vaccinated. I took it upon myself to get vaccinated because it's a safer choice for me and my family. I have older, you know, relatives and things like that. So I just think it's safer. And plus the way I travel and things like that.
I have a lot of older relatives in my home too, so I have to get vaccinated, at least for my own sake, but for theirs as well. So there's that. But on another note, like we're past W25. What are some of your favorite moments that you watched during WNBA 25 besides the playoffs?
Okay. I would say besides the playoffs, I've always been a Sabrina Ionescu fan, even from her Oregon days. So seeing her shot and just shutting down teams during the season, that was really strong for me. Of course, Candace Parker returned to Chicago. I'm very emotional. So when I see things like that, like I start to tear up and, you know, get a little fuzzy inside and stuff like that. And just the outright like presence of the whole WNBA and seeing, you know, the different athletes and reading their personalities on Instagram through their TikToks and their videos, and, you know, reading the podcast and seeing what they do after, you know, the season or before the season. I think trying to get to know them more, as a person rather than a player is probably my favorite thing about the WNBA.
My favorite thing is just the fact that we got to see some of the teams that weren't really that great last year come back at least somewhat stronger, like the New York Liberty. They went from 2 wins in the bubble to 12 wins and just barely make it to the playoffs, or to lose to the runner-up in the WNBA finals.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to see Tina Charles put in some work for the Washington Mystics. You got to see the Connecticut Sun have their best season, minus losing in the semifinals. You got to see the Aces continue to be the championship contenders. And also, we got to look at a couple other teams that, like you mentioned, the Chicago Sky and Candace Parker come back to Chicago, win the WNBA title. On top of that, this guy redeemed himself against the Mercury for the loss of the 2014 finals, where Ali Quigley and Courtney Williams were literally babies when they first met, or at the very least experiencing a taste of what it's like to actually be in the WNBA finals.
Yep.
When I spoke to them in the conferences, they in short terms, they grew up a lot.
Playoffs do change you, whatever, if you're on the biggest stage or the lower stage, the more experience you have, the better it is. Unfortunately, Diane Taurasi, she has so much experience. She just didn't know how to take her anger out. And with the Chicago Sky, Kalia Cooper, she was just
Fast break city.
Yeah, she was just like, you can't guard her. I was telling everybody, I'm like, you can't guard her. No one has.
Call her Fast Break Copper. That's all I gotta say. Don't call her Kalia Copper. Just call her Fast Break Copper.
KFC. Kalia and Cooper. There we go.
It's a shame we couldn't get to do any more games other than the one which is the guy in the Sun in game 2.
So unfortunately. And unfortunately, I couldn't fly out just because it was so short notice. So, when the Sun was in Chicago, I was really hoping, I'm like, please let them go to the finals. Please let them go to the finals, just because, that's closer to where I am. So I would be able to get there and get back. But watching it from TV was just like I was there. I was rooting for them. I was cheering them on. I had my popcorn and things like that. So it was really, it was just an overall great experience, just seeing WNBA on the biggest stage, on TV, on ESPN, and everyone from Chris Paul to Devin Booker and everyone just on the sidelines, cheering them on.
And you want to know what else is big? Seeing the Mercury and the Sun in the NBA in the final series for the first time.
Yeah, it was like 2021 all over again.
To the finals in the same year, and end up losing.
Yep.
The Suns blew a 2-game lead against Giannis Antetokounmpo's Milwaukee Bucks, which is understandable because you can see the hunger in the Milwaukee Bucks in that championship team last year. You can see that hunger from Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now they're just hungry to even try to get a championship again.
And I feel like it's gonna come. It's gonna come. We don't know if it's gonna come this year, next year, but the track that Giannis and them are, they just have to be consistent.
What's the furthest that you ever took your college team to a championship during your days in college?
Furthest I feel like was probably round 3 of the playoffs. We almost made it to semifinals, but we were going up against the number 2 team in the conference, and they were really, 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 really good. We lost by I think 4 or 5, but it was just seeing from my freshman year to go into my senior year how much we've changed as players, we've changed as a team, and the whole program in itself was just, it was amazing. It was great to be part of because it was I was still having fun. It didn't feel like, it was business. It just felt like it was fun. You're on those AAU courts. That's just how it felt.
Yeah, at least you got to get some playoff games in your reps.
Yeah.
Playoffs is really incredible.
Going to the next level from high school to college, it's a big difference because it's you're going against women who actually are the best. You're not the best one on your team anymore. There is 5 of the best people on that team, so it's just a lot of not politics, but just a lot of mixed match diversity that you have to get along with going from high school to college. Yeah,
that's crazy. But to transition a little bit, between all the players you played, what are some of the WNBA players that you would love to go one-on-one against? starting with the WNBA? And then
I would love, because me, like, I'm more of a defender and I like to be competitive. So I would say I would like to go against Sabrina Ionescu just because she could get to the basket and she could shoot from the outside. Seeing someone with that of a quick pull up, like, it intrigues me, and that makes me I like to get up in people's faces. I don't like to, stand back with the one arm. So I would say her. I would say also, I like playing post players too. So that's kind of funny to me. I mean, I'm only 5'8", so I'm not that tall, but like trying to go up against like a Brittany Griner or like a Candace Parker, I mean, that right there, that's game changing, because you see a lot of guards in the WNBA who now they're literally like, no, like, I got the post, like, I can do it, like, don't call help.
I don't know if you want to play against Brittany Griner or
I don't have listen, when we get on the court, when we get on the
you see Brittany Griner do a dunk.
Mm-hmm. But you also see when teams shut her down too. So I mean
she's too tall for you. Trust me. Too tall for you.
I like the challenge. I like challenges.
If you're sitting next to her, you'll know she's too OP tall for you.
I like challenges. That's one thing about me. I like challenges.
Well, step on the court with me. I mean, I never had a basketball career myself. But I'll probably have a better idea about your talent.
I got you. I got you.
Speaking of basketball, like, what are some of your favorite basketball movies that you watched growing up?
My number one is Love and Basketball. I thought I was gonna have that Love and Basketball. Like, I go to college, she goes to college, play basketball. No, my man is in the military. He's in the Navy, so it's still a love story within itself. Like Mike was also a favorite of mine, just because like that movie made me cry every time I see it. It's just like a child's dream. Another movie is called Rebound. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was featuring Martin Lawrence. That was probably my second favorite over Like Mike.
Wow.
Growing up. Yeah, and that's the older.
The one with Lil Bow Wow. Well, that movie was so incredible. I did like the sequel slightly better, but the first one, I can see why a lot of people like the first one better. I mean, you got the athletes like Vince Carter and Allen Iverson and Lawrence. So many great athletes and actors in that movie. I mean,
yeah, that
good.
Definitely top three. Definitely, those are my top three. I loved them. I still love them to this day. I can watch. I know Love and Basketball word for word. So
that's crazy. But which team do you see? Which NBA Finals matchup do you like to see in NBA 75 this year?
The matchups that I would like to see. I said this earlier. I would definitely like to see the Suns back in the finals, and I honestly want to see a round 2 of the Suns and the Bucks, just because I thought that series was going to be so boring, but it wasn't. It was like a whole total 360. Like, you got excitement, you got enjoyment, and you got laughter out of all those games. Like when you think of the Bucks, you don't think of them as like a showtimey team. They do literally all the basic stuff. So that, to me, I would like to see that round over again. I would like to see Chris Paul get his ring, because I was rooting for that last year. I was really upset. I was sad for him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with Chris Paul, you actually got to see his growth as an NBA player. Up until his first NBA Finals appearance. You also got to see Giannis put in some serious work and have little moments of his own, between the block by DeAndre Ayton trying to go for an alley-oop dunk to that three-point play, although he didn't make the free throw. After on a fast break, that dunk was just insane.
Yeah.
That not playing around.
Yeah, no, not at all. And when I saw the Suns go up against the Lakers, I was like, okay, yeah, they're ready. They're ready for round 2. They're coming. They're out for blood. They want that rerun of them and the Bucks.
Yes, they do, and I can't wait to see how this NBA season grows. Well, now for this episode, Nothing But That Sports Talk. Thank you for stopping by, Angela Randle, and I can't wait to connect with you in the near future. It's all the balls out there.
You.
Enjoy NBA 75. New York, we here.
We here. Thank you, Rafiq. This is This is so good. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is Nothing But That Sports Talk, where you have the game